You know when I said there's definitely more to this in my last video on this topic? Wow. With more victims and people close to Sticky reaching out to me with damning evidence and experiences, I guess I was right. Sticky, I know you're going to watch this because people close to you have told me my last video hurt you deep down inside. And your submarine is leaking. But I do need to say once more, this video isn't coming from a position of hate, but one of pure disgust. Also, everyone featured in this video will be kept 100% anonymous. Firstly, let's address the paedophile from the last video. I managed to get in contact with one of his victims, and she shared this with me. So it turns out no action was taken towards Jay Colley, even though at this point it was confirmed he was a paedophile and has sexually harassed multiple people within Sticky's Discord server. To add to this, I also have confirmation that he had an alt account in there as well. But you guys can have a listen for yourselves.
Oh, yeah, so
From what you know.
From what I know, as a community member that was not a staff member had known of Jay Colley's alt account's existence because he had been in contact with her. However, I don't know how far up the chain that went. I don't know if staff members knew or not.
So was this an account in the Discord server, or as you said, like maybe in like the game?
In the Discord server, definitely.
Oh, I see.
I don't know if he had his alt Steam account on the Isle server.
Oh, I see. Do you know if the alt server in the account got, like in the Discord, sorry, got removed, or could it still be there to this day?
I have no idea. I do not know.
I see. Thank you. Any normal person can agree that this is alarming. Not only on Sticky Utah's part, but also from the staff as well. Welcoming back a known predator who has multiple accounts on your server. Maybe they were complacent, or maybe something else. It's not a good look. It really isn't. Have a read through these for me. The terminology used here makes me question even further. His defense here, he's saying his friend is dumb, and girls, you know how girls are, they don't ask me for those sexual pictures or sexual topics. I'm editing this now and I'm actually stunned. Just going through reading this again. Anyway, we'll get back on track. Oh, and here's the context. This screenshot is one of Jay Colley's victims, who was also a manager in Sticky's server, gathering the courage to stand up to Sticky, and he lashes out. It's interesting when you consider this, and when you consider this.
I think that a big part of the drama behind Sticky's server was the vibe that it gave off, that kind of the 13 to 25-ish age range of mostly female targeted audience really gave a sort of reverse harem style vibe going, and it was very worshipy in his stead.
So did that, like, to you, how did that make you feel, or were you just like not really too invested in it really?
I honestly, like, I never heard anything about him being creepy towards any of the girls. I mean, obviously, part of that is probably the same celebrity complex where you get, you know, oh my god, I'm so special, this male influencer is giving me attention. So maybe nobody ever said anything. Maybe nothing ever happened. I don't know. I highly doubt anything ever happened. But it just, like, it gave me the creeps towards the end, and that's why I kind of stopped with the company. A part of, like, me coming out of the company and coming out of working with Sticky in particular was just because Sticky had no respect for me, and I don't know if it was because he didn't like me or if he felt that my coworker, being a male, was a little bit more respectable. I'm not really sure, because obviously he hired women on as his lead moderators, so he doesn't think women to be completely incapable, but the way that he treated me just seemed like he thought that I was some emotional little woman. So
I see.
it really gave the vibes of him being a little bit sexist, a little bit thinking that women were a little bit, less intelligent, or,
Sticky, I think you have a few things backwards, because why would you say a minor being manipulated by a paedophile is just as dangerous as one? Like, why? How have you got that train? How have you got that train of thought? If this is true, which it may very well be, considering this source has been very reliable and very honest, then something's got to give. Oh, and on a quick side note, one of the many victims that used to be a part of the Hunting Grounds server were met with death threats because the actual reason they left the server wasn't told to the general populace, and instead, someone told them a lie, and the people in return sent them abuse. Luckily, the cases I've dealt with, the people have all been mentally strong. But what would you suppose would happen if a mentally weak person was met with 60 messages of people telling them to kill themselves? I think it's best we don't think about that. This is a screenshot of another one of J. Colley's victims coming forward and telling Sticky what's going on and how the nonce commits his horrible acts and how he gets girls to trust him. And then Sticky goes on to say, "That's where I struggle, poor victim. I struggle to believe you." And then he goes on and says whatever. Okay, I'm gonna go a bit off script here, but girls, women out there, if you're messaging a guy, you're chatting to a guy, you're trying to get to know him, and he ever hints at him having a quote-unquote itch, block him. There's no other way. If you're not on those terms where you're okay and comfortable to speak about that, get him out of your life. Block him. He ain't worth it. He's probably, mate. You don't do that. He's desperate. He's weird as hell, man. Sis, he ain't the one. He ain't the one. Also, how can he casually ask to play Maya afterwards? These pedos have no shame. And this goes for men, women, boys, girls, anyone or anything in between. If someone is messaging you like this, just block them straight away. Get them out. They ain't worth it. They're up to no good. Surprisingly, not many people know this, but half of Sticky Utah's content is faked. He gets people from his community to act as if they're real players, so he can broadcast his skill. Whilst we're talking about skill, someone on the last video tried to debate me. They watched the whole video, they completely ignored it, and they said, well, you can't say he doesn't have skill at the game, because to abuse the broken hitboxes and to abuse the glitches, you have to have high level skill. These humans exist? I was told by someone close to Sticky that a person he made pretend to be a player killed him and he flipped on them because that wasn't meant to happen, because Sticky's meant to be all the best IRL player ever, right? He also gives free growth to himself and anyone who he gets to pretend to be a player, pretty much. And in my opinion, he's scamming people, because why would you have your server with what it's about on a survival server when you could just do it on a sandbox server? But instead, you monetize it, have it on a survival server, and push dino tokens in people's faces. I know one guy, I don't know him, but I was told one guy spent almost $3 grand on dino tokens. I knew Sticky was making bank from his shop, but not almost 20 grand. We're gonna have another live forage, because I was told that some of this stuff is sold out. Let's have a look at men's, I might want to treat myself to some Sticky Utah merch. Oh, by the way, the art for these are traced. I don't know, I know some people don't like that. They like this. This one here, I'll put it up on screen now. This one is traced off Google Images. Like, come on. Sold out! Who? Who is buying this? Why would you do that to your kid, man? You haven't even given him a chance at life.
And it was honestly a very clean server in terms of toxicity. But I never had really good feelings about the staff. And it wasn't like the staff members were bad people. It was mainly, it was just some shady shit going on. And it was obviously bad because the members could see it, such as myself. I don't think it's, I don't think Sticky's necessarily a healthy role model. And I feel like a lot of people don't know that. And that's what's dangerous. And the thing that is another issue is the loyal staff members that acknowledge these issues Sympathize with the person affected, but do not do anything about it. We don't know where JC went. He most likely fell off the face of the planet because he realized he fucked up. And unfortunately now, because we don't know where he is, he won't be able to suffer repercussions for it.
JC's real name is Josh, and I can only assume the C either stands for his middle name or his last name. And he lives in California. It turns out he actually has 2 daughters, and thankfully he lost the custody of one of them. And I pray the other one is okay. If anyone who lives in California, lives near California, present this video to the authorities, and I'll put them in contact with my connections, and hopefully we can try and sort something out.
Honestly, I think it hits a soft spot for a lot of girls and even boys when it comes to them seeking help and them being totally disregarded. Especially if you're looking up to this one community guy. He's not a role model. He should not have a platform to be a role model for younger kids or even older kids. It's not right. But however, I just hope that at least the people that feel trapped there will be able to escape, and that Hunting Grounds it's a good server, just not ran by a good person in conclusion. Moderators should be approachable people. A lot of the higher ups, such as Rurfi, and I'll even say Raka. There's been a few instances where Raka was insulting members in the voice chat in public. Or in staff VCs, I don't remember. You're gonna have to ask the person who witnessed it. But these people are not approachable. Like I said earlier, I feel like Rurfi is that type of person that if you pinged him, he would fucking ban you because he has the higher authority. And that's when you can tell that obviously the power is in the wrong here. These people should not have power. Being an admin, having a red tag on your fucking name does not mean you're God over me.
In a community that has a high population of children, you'd expect and want members in positions of power to be approachable at the very least. And Rurfi, you've also got some questions to answer. Rurfi used to be, and could still be, friends with J. Colley. They even made music together. And this is what happened when victims of his friend's predatory acts came forward with evidence. Instead of being outraged and disgusted, he admits that he knew about it and then refused to speak to them any further. This man is still management in Sticky's server to this day. Am I the only one who sees how harmful this could be? Since you at least were friends with J. Colley, I can make a safe assumption that you know what his second name is. After this video is posted, if you watch this and you don't disclose it so we can track this man down, then what does that say about you? It's rather ironic considering your Discord tags and bio. And whilst we're on the topic of management, I won't mention their name, but there's a member of Sticky's management team who was a victim of his friend's pedophilic tendencies, but they still side with Sticky, even knowing his complacency towards this. And it raises a few questions as to why they were made management at such a young age. But the questions I have is, why are you still there? Maybe because you are in a position of power? Or maybe for reasons shown prior in this video. I could be completely wrong, but from what I've seen, presented, and what people have told me from the inside, I fail to believe that it's a healthy environment. You couldn't write this. As of recording this, someone just commented on my first video. It's falling apart at the seams. So Sticky, or should I say Pedophile, you have no problem outing pedophiles, but only the ones you don't like?
Ducky Momo, or I believe someone like that, he had also done similar things to JC, had also sent like very explicit things to minors as well, as far as I know. And he made a whole post saying, we in Hunting Grounds, we don't support stuff like that. I want the people to be safe, you know, shit like that. Even though he, a few weeks or months or whatever back, protected someone like JC and maybe more people, you know.
So is Ducky Momo part of the admin team or management?
No, he was just a member.
Oh, I see.
But it's just like the hypocrisy. I think it's called hypocrisy, where like,
yep,
him kicking Ducky Momo out, saying, "Hey, we don't support this, we don't want this," and yet shielding JC and other people. You know.
Do you think he may have shielded JC and other people because he was friends with them, or he...
100%, 100%. I don't see another reason why he would protect them other, then they would be his friends.
Oh. But what about the time you demanded entrance to a private server, then once you had entrance, you accused a member of being a paedophile, falsely ruining their reputation? You know how serious that is?
Something like that, like if you're gonna accuse someone, you would do this with evidence. He did it without any evidence, and at the end, he couldn't back anything up and it was dropped. It wasn't true. And you know what? Because of that accusation, you, like even in real life, accusations like that ruin your reputation. And because of that, at some point other things happened in that clan and they just disbanded.
I see.
You don't do shit like that in public without concrete evidence.
But I guess you don't care about the consequences that follow such powerful accusations. Something that I find interesting is that Sticky, he's always ready to lawyer up. He's always ready to threaten legal action. He even threatened a victim with legal action because they were exposing Jake Holly's behaviour, which to me is just shocking. On a separate occasion, Sticky said they shouldn't go to the police about a paedophile in their server attacking the minors because one of the minors was of age of consent in their country, so it wouldn't go anywhere. Does that make it okay then? Does that make it fine? You're just gonna sweep it under the rug? Now we are getting a bit personal, but what you've done, what you've allowed, supersedes what I'm about to say. In editing, I've decided it's best not to say that, but just the way you treated your ex-girlfriend is horrible. Sticky would also, apparently jokingly, call staff members who are like in their early 20s MILFs and use other sexual innuendos. And when we're talking about a management team of any sort, is that really professional? Sticky also made a contract with a guy called Ken. Ken was a business consultant and he had helped Sticky design his shop and helped him with his server. And if they reached a certain threshold, so certain amount of views, sales from his shop, then Ken would be under contract to get paid. But for some reason, because Sticky didn't want to pay him, he stopped uploading, he stopped promoting his shop, thus Ken didn't get paid, so they didn't reach the threshold. I don't know why you'd do that. But then, well, I guess he's just scammed him, hasn't he? He's got him to help him for free. And then because he forcibly didn't reach the threshold, he was like, nah mate, sorry, I'm not going to pay you, we haven't reached it. Which is a shitty thing to do, we have to admit.
Yeah, the majority of the female staff he tried to get with. Tons of them. There's actually past admins who are already gone, who he had somewhat of a, not a relationship, but, you know, sleeping around kind of thing. Maybe some pictures or what have you. He was flirting with me for a time, so there was a moment where, you know, but I kind of indicated that I'm not really comfortable with sleeping around unless I'm dating that person.
Understandable.
So he kind of, which is kind of funny since he tried to be like, well, my first person that I ever fell in love with, we just slept around at first. So it was almost like he was trying to convince me, but he didn't push it because it was kind of creepy, actually, now that I think about it. He's like, oh, I don't want to hurt you. I remember I sent you some of those, actually. Some of those, basically.
Oh,
he
yeah.
Yeah, he would lose control or something would happen. More or less, Sticky has got a thing for boobs. Typical guy, I suppose. He's got a thing for boobs, however.
Did he tell you that, or did it just come up in conversation somehow?
It kind of came up. So to kind of explain me, I'm very much an open book. Like, we can have a conversation about, you know, like, oh man, like this girl has boobs, or oh man, like, you know, or maybe my chest is sore or something like that. Like, to me, it's not really sexual. I'm, you know, open book kind of thing. Like, however, he would abruptly stop the conversation and just be like, oh, I've noticed your pictures in the staff channel. I'm not comfortable. I don't want you to keep going, because it would turn him on, kind of thing.
Huh?
Because he would try to scare me. He would always try to come off as like this, you know, the dominating presence, more or less. He tried to keep up that image. Maybe not with everybody, but a good majority of the people, I think, can agree that he did try to do that with his staff. Especially if he didn't like you. If he thought there was something, in quotes, wrong with you, he would leave you messages like those to try and intimidate you.
I see. And it's quite evident that it's quite evident that he may be borderline sexist in the way he views women. Could you tell me your opinion on that from your experience as a whole?
I'm gonna have to say yes. And not everybody's gonna agree with that, and that's okay. It's kind of like, I guess, how you perceive the world. Your opinions, you know, may be different from mine. But Sticky is very much a victim blamer, for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Could you give me an example of that, if you have one to mind?
I have a couple.
Reel them off.
For example, so there was another instance of a pedophile in the community, but it was a tad bit different. This pedophile was in a supposed quote unquote relationship with an underage girl. I don't recall how old she was, but I do remember that she was still underage. I don't even think she was close to 18. I think she was somewhere maybe 15, maybe a little bit younger. I can't, like I said, take that with a grain of salt. But she was not 18 or older. This person, more or less, they were, again, dating, and it was a friend of the girl who came forward to management and who had said, hey, listen, my friend is involved with somebody who is clearly a pedophile, clearly, you know, manipulating her and, you know, doing things with her that's not good. But my friend can't see that. So the girl was quote unquote consenting, quote unquote. Still, obviously, that's wrong. Children are easily manipulated, and it's up to the adult in that situation not to engage with a child. Now, when this was brought to management chat, Sticky wanted to ban this girl as well. He wanted to ban the pedophile, but he wanted to also punish the girl, because his reasoning was that she knows better. She should know better, and her actions are putting the community in danger because she's allowing this pedophile to be with her, and she could potentially bring him into, you know, again, the community. The victim blaming, again, it's up to people's opinions to some degree. However, I personally do not find that appropriate. I don't think a child has the mental capacity to understand sometimes. Not always, but most of the time, an adult can easily break through and manipulate them. And again, Sticky just did not like that.
100%.
It was a huge argument, actually. Very big argument happened in the management chat over this situation.
I'm guessing
there's other
it was...
stuff that happened.
Oh, I mean, yeah, sure. Enlighten us.
This is, I don't know if anyone's informed you before or if it's ever come out, but there was a situation where Sticky, he kind of said that the reason you can blame a girl for interacting with a pedophile or quote unquote consenting with a pedophile is because not teenagers, but kids, quote unquote, know better, and he listed African child slaves
Oh my
as
god.
an example.
Does anything more need to be said or shown? Really? I'm literally stunned. I can't. I have nothing to say. Wow. Wow.
And that I feel like Sticky may be at least somewhat, I wouldn't say screwed in his critical thinking, or just the way he can be sexist is so when I was dealing with somebody who was sexually harassing me in his community, who was a hired contractor. He made sexual jokes towards me in Admiral General chat, which I if we had a back and forth, that was one thing, but he had made a particular comment that really made me uncomfortable. And Sticky, to my knowledge, did not go to that person to talk. So Ken. He didn't go to Ken to say, hey, knock it off. That's kind of inappropriate. Instead, he went to me and told me that, you're not the driving factor, but you're also not a bystander, so you need to put your foot down, or you need to do something about this. Again, to the person who didn't make the sexual joke.
Did Ken? So he was sexually harassing you, right? Could you confirm? Can you confirm that for me?
Yes. So for the longest time, Ken and I were friends for about I would say a year, to be honest. Like, I'd have to go back and check, but the DMs are about 3 or 5 hours long, so I'm assuming it's about a year's worth of messages. He came off as a friend, but he would make a lot of sexual innuendos and jokes, and initially I was okay with it, because he hadn't mentioned that he had a wife or anything like that, so it was like playful flirting. Like, I was 19, he was in his 30s, but that's kind of besides the point. I was young, kind of in I was kind of interested,
Yeah.
It seemed fun. It was only after I had kind of put my foot down, like, sure, yeah, we still had a very open, like, kind of way about talking, but he would still kind of push. For example, he wanted me to help him masturbate. That was one of the biggest things, and I kept repeatedly having to tell him, no, I don't want to do that. No, stop asking me. Stop. No. And he would keep asking every other, maybe he'd wait a couple weeks, but eventually he would ask me again. Just
how would he ask you for help when it came to such things?
So he wanted me to count down. To kind of explain it, more or less, it got him excited if you count down from, let's say, 10 or something. It's kind of like a timed rush sort of thing.
Was this in the chat or in a call, or how was this formulated?
So both. He could ask you in a voice chat, will you count down for me? Or he would ask you in your DMs. He'd be like, please, will you count down for me? Like, just stuff like that. Or sometimes he wouldn't even fully say it, he would just imply it, because he knew I knew what he was talking about. He would randomly say my name, and he would just be like, please, and I again would have to tell him, no, I'm not, I don't want to do that. And he would always make, sorry for the bird, he would always make sexual innuendos towards me. Like, I don't mind, like, making sexual jokes, right? Like, we would make, like, goofy, dirty jokes. But then he would turn them around towards me, and that's where you could see that I would get uncomfortable. We have a few of those DMs between us that you can show if you'd like, of course. But just, for example, I showed him a picture of my dog who was cuddling with me, who happened to be, like, cuddled up with my stomach, right? I didn't show the skin of my stomach, I just showed her cuddling me, and just, it was chill. But then he was like, can you send me another one? I can't see your stomach. like stuff like that. Like he would be very weird, and it's just like, no, ew, what the fuck? Like, no.
Did
now?
Oh, go on. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, just to kind of. I was still the same way. It's very hard to tell people off because I feel like maybe I'm making assumptions, and he kind of targeted that a little bit.
Now, I just need to confirm, this Ken guy isn't a pedophile. From what I know, he is a shitty guy, making people feel uncomfortable, talking to multiple girls, trying to get them into a polyamorous relationship with him and his wife, and offering spare rooms to them, and whatever stuff. But from what I've seen, the most of his actions and arrangements were consensual, obviously apart from this incident here. But I just thought I'd needed to say that. Oh, and obviously Sticky knew about this, by the way.
He did something that I didn't like. He would turn it around and be like, "Oh, I was just joking. I was just joking. It's nothing serious. I'm your friend. I wouldn't do that, you know."
Could you make the point that he was potentially manipulative in his...
Yes, he was very manipulative. In fact, Sticky praised his manipulative abilities.
Really?
Yes. He would actually use Ken to talk to very unruly people in the community because he knew how manipulative he was.
I see. Could you say that was Sticky and Ken friends at one point, or were they were? Did
They were friends. So the day that I became management, and we had the trial management training, there was 3 of us, to my knowledge. Ken more or less was telling us that we would need to sign a contract, non-disclosure kind of thing. Indicated that we weren't allowed to take customer information since we were going to handle the Shopify orders, so the merch website, and tokens, what have you.
No, don't get me started on those dino tokens.
Yes. We more or less had to sign this contract that indicated that we weren't going to take people's information from that and use it maliciously. And Ken, who was doing the training, even told us that it would be illegal for us to take that information and message the person and say, "Hey, I know where you live. I that would be illegal," is what he said.
Right.
And he turned around and used me as an example. He said if I were to grab and I messaged her and I told her, "Hey, I know where you live. I know your full name," so on and so forth, that would be illegal to do. Which is ironic, since again,
and he did that to
me. Yes.
Wow.
It didn't click for me that, hey, that's actually illegal. Hey, he didn't have done that kind of thing.
Could you tell, why did Ken leave, and how did he leave?
So, Ken was not asked by Sticky to leave. He left of his resigned, left, and the reason he did is so somebody from management, because to my knowledge I wasn't management yet. Maybe I was, I can't remember. But somebody who was a senior in that position who I had looked up to, she came to me and she reached out to a bunch of other girls, and she kind of compiled together that, hey, wait a minute, Ken is going around and kind of doing all this weird stuff to us. On top of that, she had told me that she felt pressured by him, and another admin that she had brought into the conversation indicated that she was afraid of Ken, that he was very pushy and very and that he did a lot of things to them that just made them uncomfortable. This main admin or management reached out to Ken to kind of confront him and just kind of like, hey, you fucked up, you're doing a lot of weird things. Just it was gonna turn into something big, and she actually had plans to reach out to Sticky, and if Sticky didn't side with us, then she was going to expose everything within management. That was the plan. And Ken having found this out, because I think he was on a camping trip or something was going on where he wasn't actually really available, but he kind of found out because I think she had his phone number. He decided that he was going to resign as soon as he was back his trip, because he knew it was coming. Like, he knew it was going to explode.
Iro Shelley, who's part of the management team now, when I say this, I don't mean this in a malicious way at all. I don't mean it in a horrible way, in a mean way. I'm just saying, how can you say this was resolved 2 years ago and a victim literally posted the original Reddit post from your reply a few months ago? And you say you led Jay Colley on? You were 17. He was at least in his mid to late 20s. Did someone tell you to say that as attempted damage control? And I have confirmation what you say from the 7th line in the 2nd paragraph is a lie. Higher ups in the server left because that isn't what happened. They wanted him banned, but Sticky took it into his own hands and let him back in the server. And here's Sticky Utah's ex-girlfriend adding in her insight. Let's have a read, shall we? Just wanted to add my input as far as the credibility goes. All of this is 100% true. I was in a relationship of sorts with Sticky Utah for a short time, and thus have gotten to know him personally. He is misogynistic. Furthermore, there is an entire novel worth of shitstorm regarding sexual harassment within his staff, not even related to the incident highlighted in this thread. Sticky is personally and outwardly a shit human being, and doesn't deserve the success he's maintained through buying things like this. Just wanted to add my take. Original poster has my full support. To those who are skeptical, who are still maybe on the fence or don't buy it, this is literally it. There's nothing left. Well, there is. There's stuff that I can't say that I've been told, and there's way more things that have gone on. But it's undeniable. It's undeniable at this point. If anyone says the victims wouldn't want me to dig all of this up again, why would they give me all of this? Why would they let me interview them? Either in private or for this video. They're the ones that wanted me to make this video, to be a voice for them when they didn't have an outlet. Whether I'm right or wrong for making this and posting it, I'll let you guys be the judge. There's even more to this, but I haven't received consent to share. But if Sticky does try to sue me, he'll have to prove that all of this is fake. But if somehow he does sue me and my channel gets taken down and I never see you guys again, just know it's been a good ride. I'm thankful to all of you. You've all been amazing to me. And I never thought in a million years I'd get this many subscribers and positive interactions. I love you guys. But if this isn't the end, I have something to say to you directly, Sticky. I'll give you 2 options. Option 1, you ignore this and you let your complacency with pedophilia, sexual harassment and sexism fester. Or option 2, you come onto my channel, you admit your wrongdoings, and you pay for your sins. It's up to you, and I'm an easy man to find, so I'll be waiting.